Hello, friends. Yet in last time's lesson, we talked about comparing words and how we use the special ending er, and est to compare things. Do you remember our elephants? This elephant is big, but this elephant is bigger. And this elephant is biggest. Yesterday, we talked about comparing two objects. And when we just compare two objects, then we use the ER ending. When we have three or more objects that we are comparing, we use the EST ending, the est ending. We're going to work on comparing three or more objects together today. Let's take a look at these clowns. This clown right here, he is pretty silly. But take a look at this clown. He is much sillier than the first clown. And the last clown, he's the silliest of all. When we compare three or more objects to one another, we use the ending est or est. Let's take a look at some words that we will practice using our er and est endings to compare three or more objects. Okay, when we looked at our clowns here, he's pretty silly, but he's definitely sillier. How did we make silly go from silly to sillier? Do you remember? We had silly, and to make it go to sillier, we took the Y and we changed it to a I. Then we added ER. So to get silly to sillier, we change the Y to an I and then add ER. Well, let's bring our third clown in. He is the silliest. So how do we make silly go to silliest? Do you remember the pattern? We have silly. We're going to change the Y to an I and add EST to make it say silliest. Let's practice that again. So today we have this alien and he's pretty angry, isn't he? But check out this alien. He's angrier. So how are we going to make angry go to angrier? What was the pattern? We have angry. We're going to change the Y to an I and add ER, angrier. That Y has to be a change to an I. But remember, we're comparing three or more objects together. So let's get our next alien. Of all three of those aliens, he is the angriest. How are we going to change angry to angriest? You know the pattern. We're going to take angry, we're going to change the Y to an I and add EST. Of all these aliens, this alien is the angriest. Let's try one more. Look at those feet. Those feet are pretty stinky, aren't they? But take a look at that garbage. It's even stinkier. He had to plug his nose. So how are we going to get stinky to be turned into stinkier? What's our pattern? Stinky, we're going to change the Y to an I and add ER. Do you see where the Y was turned to an I and we added ER? But we're comparing three or more objects today. So what could be the stinkiest? That skunk. He's so stinky, he can't even stand himself. That skunk is the stinkiest. How are we going to change stinky to stinkiest? You know the pattern. Stinky, we're going to change the Y to an I and add EST. Boys and girls, you are really starting to understand how to use those inflectional endings to compare. Remember, if the word ends in a Y, we change the Y to an I, and we add ER if we're comparing two objects, or change the Y to an I and add EST if we're comparing three or more objects. Okay, boys and girls, it's time for you to practice making those changes on your own.